we will pick up where straight after Ash's gym battle with Flannery, where he gained his new badge, he will be on a call with Professor Birch, telling him about how he has 10 Pokemon in his Pokedex, and how he has 5 Pokemon currently in his team, and how he has 4 gym badges. Then Professor Birch would say that his son Brandon, ever since he drew with him on Route 110, has been training hard, because he thought that he could never be even close to being beaten by someone like Ash, and he wanted to push himself further beyond his limits. And ever since he began training, he was far stronger than he was before, and despite now having 6 Pokemon in his party, he actually has caught over 70 Pokemon in his Pokedex, and he has them all stored at Professor Birch's lab. And he has got his 5th gym badge and is currently challenging the 6th gym leader for her gym badge. Ash will be flabbergasted, but not very surprised. He'd be like, wow, Brandon really was affected by that loss, knowing as how prideful he is. But knowing the way he is, that's only natural. But I need to go and surpass him and show him who's boss. I'm going to be the #1 Pokemon Master, and I'm not gonna let Brandon stand in my way. I'm gonna show him his place in the universe. And Professor Birch would say, "Oh, Ash, I like that attitude, but let's see how you will fare against my son in the Pokemon League. Even though Brandon is my son, I've noticed how he has changed over the years, from the humble boy he once was to an arrogant and cocky person, and an unpleasant person to be around. I noticed this as you and Brendan grew, along with your other classmates. And now, even though he's my son, when or if you make it to the Pokemon League, and when my son makes it to the Pokemon League, you two will battle. I will not be cheering for either of you. Which one who wins the battle would be the one who would be Little Root Town's best. As hearing this, would have had a big flame lit in his heart, ready to go and defeat Brandon the next time they meet, despite knowing how much stronger Brandon has become since their last battle on Route 110 or 110, whatever you want to call it. Ash would thank Birch for what he said, and would say goodbye to his professor, and would turn off the call. And then he would make his way, along with his friends, back to Slateport City, to where they would find Captain Stern and ask him to take them back to Petalburg, where Ash's next gym badge was. But Stern would inform them that this would be their last trip with him, because from now on he's going to be retiring as a boatman. But when they get to his house, he has one last gift for them. When they got to his house, he gave them one of his old one of his old big rowing boats that he used to venture out all over Hoenn with while he was in his youth. Side note, I know this is headcanon. I just made this up because I thought it would be easier for them to go and just make their way to other places in Hoenn on their own rather than waiting for some dumb boat. So, yeah. Anyway, they would say goodbye to Stern as he was now officially retired and they would get on with their lives. They would then make it to Petalburg City and Ash would challenge Norman. The challenger and the gym leader would waste no time and they would both send out their Pokemon. Ash would send out his Hariyama, a good choice for a normal type gym. Meanwhile, Norman would send out his Snackoth. This battle wouldn't even be a challenge for the buff, bulky fighting type. And Hariyama would one-shot Snackoth with one single brick break. After this, Norman would send out his Vigoroth. Vigoroth, even though, despite being a normal type, and not quite as slacking yet, it was quite powerful and damaged Hariyama quite a bit. But Hariyama, while it responded with brick breaks and arm thrusts, it hurt Vigoroth pretty bad. Norman's Vigoroth was in terrible shape. It was huffing, it was puffing, but then it would glow. It would grow in size. It would become fat and lazy. And it would become this big gorilla orangutan thing, whatever slacking is. And then it would lie down during its evolution and become a slacking. Ash would be amazed at the evolution, and since the last time he battled Norman, he didn't see Norman slacking. Well, pull out his Pokedex and it would say slacking the whatever Pokemon, blah 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 blah. You can go check out he would just hear like slacking's normal Emerald entry, but I don't really know about that stuff. But the Pokedex would say that this slacking knows slash, focus punch, rest, and takedown. Ash would be amazed at the evolution, and he would even sense himself the power that Vigoroth gained when it evolved. But then, when Norman called for a focus punch, slacking would lie around with its truant or trance, whatever, and Hariyama would use a brick break. But it would be super effective, but it would do half the damage it would have done to Vigoroth. And then, slacking on the second turn, when Norman called for a focus punch, it would deliver with devastating damage onto Hariyama. Because of this, both Pokemon were put at equal health. And then Ash would opt for an Arm Thrust, which would do decent damage. Meanwhile, Norman would opt for a Slash. And then both Pokemon would be huffing and puffing. And when Ash called for a brick break, Hariyama would be too tired to perform the move. And Slacking would be on its truant turn. And then when Norman called for a focus punch, Ash would call for an Arm Thrust, which Hariyama would just be barely able to move and perform the move. But in the end, the type advantage still allowed Hariyama to do more than just leave slacking, slacking able to battle on the battlefield. And slacking had knocked out the tired Hariyama, and same for Hariyama to slacking, making it a double KO. Both trainers would be very proud of their Pokemon, and then Ash would send in Lairon, and Noah would send in his second slacking, his more experienced and powerful slacking. And Norman would remark that if they thought that the last slacking was tough, they've got another thing coming with this one. Ash would have a serious look on his face. He would know that this battle wasn't going to be an easy one. So Ash would command for Lairon to use a slash. This slash would do decent damage. But it wouldn't get beyond half health. And then this would be Slacking's short. And then it would be Slacking's turn. It would use a focus punch. And this would one-shot Lairon as ridiculously overpowered, because of how ridiculously overpowered this Norman's original slacking is. Ash would be amazed at the strength of Norman's slacking, but he wouldn't be surprised, and he would grin. He would say, "Wow, this one is gonna be more than a challenge for your slacking. Alright, go Lairon!" And then Lairon would be like, "Lairon!" And then no one would say, "Oh, so you didn't only evolve your your Zigzagoon into a Lairon, but you evolved your Aron into a Lairon. Interesting." And then this battle would be much more even than the one with Lairon and Lairon. And slacking. Even though Lairon was one of Ash's most powerful Pokemon, it was caught off guard and its defenses were low. So it took a lot of damage from that punch, and the raw power of slacking only added insult to injury. So Ash would select his starter, and the Pokemon which won him the exhibition match with Norman last time. He would then command for his Lairon to use an Iron Tail, which has come crashing down onto slacking, doing a lot of damage. And then slacking this time will respond with a powerful focus punch, doing a lot of damage as well. The battle would be a back and forth for hours and hours, until finally Ash's Lairon would find an opportunity and would slash slacking with a metal claw, knocking it out. Ash would be overjoyed at what Lairon had done, and he would thank it for the great battle it had given him. After that, Noah would walk up towards Ash and he would say, "That was an amazing battle. Now take this balance badge." Ash would receive his balance badge and thank Norman for the battle, and would make his way outside of the gym. Flannery and Brawley would say, "Ash, that was a splendid battle. Looks like Lairon has become a lot stronger." And Ash would say, "Yeah, doing a lot of training with Lairon recently. I think Lairon's close to learning a new move. I don't know what kind, but pretty sure it is." And then, after that, the trio would sense like some electric disturbance. They'd sense something weird. And then, and in this timeline, they would get Ash and Flannery from their Pokénavs would get a call from Watson. He'll be like, I need your help, guys. Something's wrong with my power generator. The trio would quickly make their way to Morville City. And Watson would tell them exactly what was happening and all that stuff. And then, after that, the trio would make their way into the power plant generator thing, whatever, and they would traverse through the area, and they would eventually close down the generator. After that, they would make their way onto the next route, and they would explore it, battling a few trainers along the way. And then they would make it to the Weather Institute, where they'd see a few Team Aqua grunts and would know that they were up to no good once again. They would hear them talking about the Weather Institute and stuff like that, and they would make their way inside. Immediately, a grunt would appear, and Ash would send out Lairon, who at this point has become his ace and his strongest Pokemon on his team. Lairon would pretty much, despite having the type disadvantage, manhandle Carvanha with one single rock tomb, knocking it out. One single rock throw, knocking it out. And then the grunt would send out Zubat, which would also be manhandled with one rock throw. Then after that, there would be a double battle between the two Team Aqua grunts and Ash and Flannery. The reason why I chose for Ash and Flannery to be inside this double battle is because Flannery kind of has a bit of a vendetta against Team Aqua because, Team Aqua, because they want to get rid of all of land with water Pokemon. And Flannery isn't too friendly about using water Pokemon because she's a fire type trainer, and also getting rid of land, get rid of all fire and fire type Pokemon, stuff like that. So she's kind of against Team Aqua, like a lot of people are. But this is a bit more personal for her, since she's a fire type trainer. Fire types, need the land to live properly and can't just live in water, even though there are a few exceptions, like for example Volcanium, but we'll get into that later. Let's just get back into the story. And then Ash and Flannery would pretty much one-shot these low-level grunts. Flannery with double kick onto the Poochyena, and Ash with a rock throw onto the Zubat. After that, Ash would battle the next grunt with his Lairon. And Lairon would one-shot the Poochyena with one Metal Claw. After that, Ash, Flannery, and Brawly would come face to face with Shelly, the Team Aqua admin. She would be telling them about how, with the help of the Weather Institute and Castform and stuff like that, they will cover the world with seas like it once used to be, and they will have the world in a beautiful blue light. No green crap could land polluted, just water. And then, yeah, on its own, for some reason, Ash's Hariyama will come out of its Pokeball because it was excited for another battle. Because even though it battled Norman, before then it hadn't had much battles. And then Shamu would say, "Oh, I see. So you want to battle?" And even though Ash had sent out Hariyama, he was already looking for a battle anyway. So he'd say, "Yeah. Alright." And then Shamu would be like, "Alright, girl, Carvana." She'd be like, "Alright, Hariyama, use Arm Thrust." And Hariyama would easily defeat Carvana. And then after that, Sharia would send in her mighty Yena, which would give Ash's Hariyama a better fight than Carvana did. But in the end, Hariyama would come out on top. After that, Shelby would flee with the rest of Team Aqua. And then the Professor would offer Ash his cast form in gratitude. But Ash, even though he wanted to go and surpass his rival Brendan, with both surpass his rival Brendan and get a full team of 6, Ash would say to cast form, and he would say that cast form isn't a Pokemon his style, and his style is more catching Pokemon than getting them and befriending Pokemon, rather than just getting them handed to him. And that cast form would suit his friend Flannery better than it would suit him. And he would ask Flannery if she could take cast form. And Flannery would be more than happy to receive the weather Pokemon and would add it to her arsenal. Well, that is just my opinion, because in the games, Flannery is always setting up sunny days and stuff like that, and cast form can change form in sunny day. So I think that Pokemon like cast form would suit Flannery way better than it would suit Ash. Like, for starters, none of his Pokemon know any moves which can change the weather. So after that, the group would make their way to Fortree City. Ash would heal all his Pokemon from all the battling and would make his way to the Fortree City gym. Immediately, Ash, trying to get the type advantage, since he's smarter in this timeline, he would send out Lairon. And it would be Lairon versus Altaria. Altaria would use a Dragon Breath, which Lairon would avoid. And Lairon would use a Rock Throw, which would do a lot of damage to Altaria. Altaria, this time, would hit with its Dragon Breath, which would paralyze Lairon. But then Lairon would use a Rock Slide, which would clip Altaria's wings, knocking it out. After that, Winona would return her Altaria, would say it did well, and then she would send out her Pelipper. Ash would be at a disadvantage because Lairon is paralyzed, and Pelipper is a water type, even though Lairon also had a type advantage, since Pelipper was part flying as well. Ash knew that the advantage was leading more to Winona and her Pelipper, since Pelipper was fresh and also didn't have any status conditions affecting it. Petalburg, being the faster one, would get in a water gun, a powerful one. But since Lairon was powerful, Lairon would still be standing, and it would barely manage to get a metal claw onto Petalburg. But after that, Petalburg would just use another water gun, clipping Lairon. Ash would then send out his Lairon. Ash would know that this would be a 5-on-5 battle, as he wanted to save Golbat for last, since it was his only flying type, and he'd like to surprise her with a flying type Pokemon, so he sent out Lairon. Lairon would slash Petalburg with such force it would send it down to the ground. Petalburg would use a water gun to do decent damage, and then Lairon would use another slash, finishing off Petalburg. After that, Winona would send in her Tropius. Tropius would stand with power, would stand over Lairon with power and dominance, being the bigger Pokemon and supposedly the more powerful one. Or that is what Winona thought. Or maybe was she right? We'll see in a sec. Lairon would use Slash to do decent damage, while Tropius would use Wing Attack, doing decent damage as well. And then Tropius would use a Solar Beam, which would catch Lairon off guard, knocking it out. After that, Winona would send in her Hariyama. Ash would send in his Hariyama. And Winona would say, "So you're using a fighting type against flying type Pokemon. I hope you know that fighting types are a massive disadvantage against flying types." And Ash would say, "I know that much, but this isn't your regular Hariyama." I should say, "Alright, Hariyama. I know this sounds crazy, but use Arm Thrust onto the ground." This notion would cause like flooding all over the ground, which would confuse the currently grounded Tropius. And then Ash would be like, "Alright, Hariyama, use Brick Break." This would be a critical hit, and it would have caught Tropius off guard, knocking it out. I know I would say, "Wow, Ash, I'm impressed that you were able to beat one of my strongest flying types with a fighting type like Hariyama. Alright, and now you're going to see the steel metallic bird of mine, my metallic beauty, Skarmory." She would then send out a Skarmory. Ash would be at a disadvantage since Skarmory would have the flying type, but wouldn't be as much as a disadvantage as it was when he was fighting against Tropius, because it had part steel typing, making Ash's Hariyama's moves more effective. Ash would get the first go and would use a Brick Break, doing decent damage. Then Skarmory would use an aerial ace, doing a lot of damage to Hariyama. And after that, Skarmory would take advantage of Hariyama's weakness, since it would be on the floor, and would use another aerial ace, knocking it out. Ash would then say, "Alright, it's up to you. Go, Tentacruel!" He would send out his Tentacruel. Be like, "Tentacruel." And it would look up at Skarmory, knowing how the battle would turn out. Tentacruel would look at Ash with a look of confidence in its eyes, and Ash would nod and would say, well, knowing the outcome of this battle as well. Winona would get the first turn, commanding for Steel Wing. This would not do much damage, not being very effective. And then, before Skarmory would escape, Ash would command Tentacruel to wrap Skarmory's feathers. Skarmory wouldn't be able to escape, would be trapped in a wrap. And then Ash would say, "Alright, use Hydro Pump." This would be a point blank Hydro Pump. Definitely not Skarmory. Winona would say, "Skarmory, you fought hard. You did your best. Now rest." She would return Skarmory. And then she would say, "My shining beauty, I release you. Go Swallow!" This would be Winona's strongest Pokemon from the anime. I should say, "Wow, that's Swallow has a unique colouring. It's the colour of a normal Swallow." And Ash would be like, "Alright, Tentacruel, wait." But that was exactly what Winona was waiting for. She would be like, "Alright, Swallow, come in with your aerial ace." And Ash would smile, thinking that he has the advantage. But then, when he commanded Tentacruel to wrap Swallow with its tentacles, Winona would smile. And Ash would say, "Why are you smiling?" And then Winona would say, "You'll see." "Alright, Swallow, use Hyper Beam." And Ash was like, "Wait, what?" And then, before Ash and Tentacruel could do anything, boom, Tentacruel was knocked out by the point blank Hyper Beam. Ash would say, "How did you teach your Swallow Hyper Beam?" And she was like, "I found time." And anyway, you really thought that the trick that worked on Skarmory would work on Swallow. Once I saw it, I knew exactly what to do. So I took advantage of your strategy and imitated you. I imitated you and defeated you." And I should say, "Wow, impressive. I would have done the exact same thing." Anyway, Tentacruel return. And Ash would look at his Pokeball, and he would know that he needs to win this battle with this one Pokemon. And he would know how strong Swallow is, but he would have confidence in his last Pokemon. He would be like, "Alright, go Golbat!" He would send out his Golbat. Golbat be raring to go, since he hadn't had a battle in a while. but Ash had trained it specifically for this battle. Alright, use Sludge Bomb. This would hit Swallow, not doing much damage. And then Rhino would be like, alright, use Aerial Ace. But Swallow would be recharging. So Swallow would be able to use another move. And then Ash would take advantage of this and be like, alright, use Wing Attack. But right then, Swallow finished its recharging and moved out of the way with such speed you wouldn't believe. And then Rhino would say, alright Swallow, use Aerial Ace. This would hurt Golbat a lot. And then Rhino would be like, alright, use Peck. This would hit Golbat as well, which was flustered from the Aerial Ace, hurting it. And then Ash would be like, alright, use Wing Attack. This would connect, barely doing any damage. And then Rhino would say, alright, use Aerial Ace. And then the Aerial Ace would hit with such force, it would force Golbat to the ground. And then Golbat would be struggling to get up. And then Rhino would say, alright, Swallow, use Hyper Beam. Swallow would be charging up its Hyper Beam. And then Ash would say, Golbat, I believe in you. You are strong enough to do this. I know you can. Get up and fly away and avoid the attack. I know how powerful you are. Now you can break free. Don't let it hit you. I believe in you, Golbat. As this Hyper Beam was about to fired, it came at such speed it was about to hit Golbat. Golbat would become so happy and motivated by how much Ash believes in it. It would begin to glow. It would grow in size. Its feet would become extra wings, and its bat ears would become more pronounced, and its wings would become slender and longer. And then it would finish its evolution into the amazing Crobat. It would have extra wings, giving it more power and more speed. From this evolution, even though Hyper Beam was seconds away, it would avoid the attack with insane speed you wouldn't believe. Ash would then call for an attack, and it would hit with such power you wouldn't believe. It would be a very powerful attack, causing devastating damage. And from its evolution, Crobat would have learned Sludge, very powerful poison type move. The actual command for Sludge, which would hit Swallow, doing a lot of damage, even poisoning it. So it would be weakened. Flannery, Winona will command for an Aerial Ace. And Ash will command for Wing Attack. Both attacks would collide, weakening Swallow immensely, and the poison would chip away at its health. Meanwhile, Crobat was still raring to go, with energy to be spared. And then Ash would say, alright, use Sludge. And then Rhino would be like, alright Swallow, use Hyper Beam. Both attacks would collide. But then the tired Swallow would get tired out, and Sludge would win, hitting Swallow and knocking it out, earning Ash his feather badge. Winona would give it to him and would say, That was very impressive and remarkable battling, Ash. You are by far one of the strongest challengers I have ever faced. And then Ash would be like, hey, how long ago was Brendan here? She would say, oh, he was here like a few days ago. And now he went to he went far away. And he went to the next city, to the city with the next gym. He was quite the challenger. His swallow knocked out mine with absolute ease. You wouldn't believe. Ash would say, oh wow, so that is the kind of trainer Brendan is. I need to match or even surpass that. Those are the thoughts going on in his mind when he had those words. And then Winona would say goodbye to Ash and his friends, and they will go their separate ways. Ash and his friends would go to the next route and explore it for a bit, until they made it into the second route, the next route after that, Route 121. This route, meanwhile, the trio were exploring it. They would find a very interesting massive building, or would be titled the Safari Zone. And unlike that band episode, where the guy was threatening to shoot Ash many times and all that other inappropriate stuff, Ash would just get into the Safari Zone and he would get all his Pokeballs, and then he would make his way into the Safari Zone. He would adventure through the entire Safari Zone, and then he would see a Houndour practicing its moves, practicing its flamethrower, its crunch, and practicing its ember and its feint attack. Ash would notice its power and would say, oh wow, this Pokemon seems powerful. And Ash would throw a Safari Ball. The ball would jiggle around for a bit, but the distracted Houndour wouldn't be able to break free, since it was distracted from its surroundings, and Ash would catch it, adding it to his team. Ash would say, cool, if I did a new Pokemon to my team. Now I've got a team of 6. Can't wait to tell Professor Birch about this. First I need to go and get my 7th gym badge. And then Ash and his friends would go out of the Safari Zone and they would go to Mount Pyre, where they would see Aquagrunts. Ash would remember exactly what Shelly said when she was leaving about how they were at Mount Pyre, and he would have already made his way to this said place. Ash would battle the first Aquagrunt and his Carvanha with his Hariyama, which would one-shot the Aquagrunt. He would then send out his Houndour for the next Pokemon, and the Houndour would defeat it with one flamethrower. Ash would already know what kind of Pokemon he had recently acquired. He would then go and challenge another Grunt, who would send out a Zubat, and he would defeat that Zubat with ease. After that, Ash and Flannery would team up against Team Aqua. I already explained earlier why Flannery's here, so no need to explain it again. And Ash will be battling because it's Ash. And despite having a time disadvantage, Combustion would easily overcome Waylord, and Houndour would overcome Puchiena with one single ember. After that, Ash, Flannery, and Brawley would come face to face with Archie, and he would say he has got the orb he has wanted, and he will see them later. He would make his way out of Mount Pyre along with Team Aqua. And after that, the elders would explain the story of Hoenn and how the legendary Pokemon Kyogre and Groudon battled and stuff like that. And then they would make their way to the Team Magma hideout to go and battle Archie and stop what has happened after hearing from, and stop Team Magma from being successful after hearing what Archie had to say about Groudon and stuff like that, you know. Ash would use Houndour against Puchiena to try and give Houndour more experience, since it was the most unexperienced of all his Pokemon. Houndour would one-shot the Puchiena with a flamethrower, and after that, Ash would encounter another grunt with a numble, and Houndour would one-shot that grunt with a crunch. And after that, Houndour, he'd run into another grunt where he'd use Houndour, trying to see how much experience Houndour can gain. Yeah. And trying to test how powerful it is. Yeah. And Houndour was also one-shot the Zubat. And then I should also run into another grunt who has a very powerful Mightyena. But the Mightyena would be nothing compared to Ash's insanely powerful Houndour. Houndour would one-shot it with one flamethrower. And after that, Ash would run into a female grunt of a Baltoy who would say, who would ask what she would say that she wonders what's happening and all that stuff. And then she would say that she needs to stop Ash from making it to Maxie and do her job, since Ash had defeated all the other grunts. She would send out a Baltoy trying to clip his Houndour with a Baltoy, since it was a ground type. But this would not mean anything, as Houndour would use one crunch on Baltoy, knocking it out, since the attack was super effective. And after that, Ash would encounter another grunt who would send out his Baltoy in an attempt to stop Ash and his Houndour. But Houndour would easily defeat Baltoy, essentially going on a killing spree to Ash's Houndour would essentially go on a killing spree to all the Baltoys and any grunt Pokemon. And by the way, it took me a long while to make this part. Yeah, because I had to draw, because I had to go and make a lot of like stuff to go and put in here. Anyway, going back to the story. I'm sorry if I sound a bit tired. Yeah, I'm a bit drowsy today, and I've just got onto summer holidays. Yeah, school has just finished, so gonna be uploading a lot more. And then, after Houndour had finished off that Pokemon, there'd be a doubles battle. And this time, Brawly would be participating because he would have a vendetta against Team Magma because they wanted to cover the world with land to get rid of water. And if you have watched the anime, like I'm pretty sure all of us have, you know that Brawly loves water and he uses it to surf and calm down and become stronger with his Hariyama and stuff like that, you know. So, you would know that Brawly would not stand for an organization which wants to get rid of something he enjoys, like water and surfing. So, Brawly would send in his Machoke, while Ash would send in his newly acquired Houndour, which he is using to gain more experience. After that, then Machoke would use a would use a karate chop, knocking out the Numble, and Houndour would use a flamethrower, knocking out the Zubat. Then, after that, the two grunts would turn their Pokemon and they would say they failed to, and they would say that, oh wow, we tried to stop you guys, but I guess the next people are going to have to deal with you now. I hope if you ever make it to the admin, he deals with you before you can make it to Maxie. And then, speak of the devil, Tabitha would show up and he would try stop the group from going to Maxie. And then Ash would get ready to square up to him and battle him, but then Tabitha would say, "Stop! I want to fight that fire girl. I want to fight her. I want to settle the score from Mount Chimney." But Tabitha would develop some sort of vendetta against Flannery for what she did to him and his Pokemon at Mount Chimney. Yes, he would want to battle her. And Flannery would say, "Wow, I've been itching to have another battle recently. Though I battled a few grunts recently, I've been itching to have a challenging battle. Let's see how good you become." And then Flannery would send out her signature Combustion. Meanwhile, Tabitha would send out a Numble. Combustion would easily defeat Numble with a double kick. After that, Tabitha would send out a Mightyena, which would also get clipped by a few double kicks. After that, Tabitha would send out a Zubat, which would get absolutely eviscerated by one flamethrower. And after that, Tabitha would send out his ace and most powerful Pokemon, Camerupt. This Pokemon would give Combustion a hard time. The earthquakes would be destroying everything in sight. Would be weakening Combustion here and there, destroying itself. Combustion would be tired. It would have barely gotten any double kicks or any damage onto the Camerupt. Combustion, from pure determination, it will begin to glow. It will grow in size. Its arms would become more bone and develop muscle. It will become taller. The three crests on its head will grow into these long very, very feathery long things, and its legs would elongate and cover its claws, and then its beak would become more pronounced, and it would grow in size and then become Blaziken. It would have evolved into Blaziken. Ash, still watching the fight along with Brawly, would pull out his entry. It would say Blaziken, the Blaze Pokemon, and it would say its Emerald entry, which I do not know about. It would say it's a fire and fighting type, and the final evolution of Torchic. Flannery would say, amazing, Combusken, you evolved into Blaziken. And Blaziken would say, Blaze. I would look at Flannery, I would make a thumbs up. After that, Blaziken would use its newly learnt signature move, Blaze Kick, and it would do a lot of damage to Camerupt. Camerupt would try using Earthquake, but Flannery will command Blaziken to jump and avoid it, and then use Double Kick in the air, and it would, knocking out Camerupt. After that, Tabitha will return his Camerupt, and May will congratulate her Blaziken and would say, well done. Blaziken would grin, and she would return it in its Pokeball. Ash would then go and battle another Team Aqua Grunt, and then he would use his Houndour to use his Houndour, which would crunch the grunt and would finish him off. After that, they would go and find Maxie. Maxie would use his orb and he would summon Groudon, but Groudon would just disappear and go away, go to a separate location. And Maxie would be shocked, thinking that he got the right orb and everything. What is going on? Why is this happening? And then after that, Maxie would say, alright, whatever happened, I don't care. I'm not gonna let you get in the way of my plan, if it's coming to fruition. And then Ash will battle against Maxie with his Houndour against Maxie's Mightyena. And Houndour would defeat Mightyena with a flamethrower and a crunch. After that, Maxie would send in his Camerupt, a powerful Pokemon. Camerupt would use an Earthquake, weakening Houndour immensely. And then Houndour would use a Flamethrower, not doing much damage. And then Camerupt would use another Earthquake, doing a lot of damage. Houndour will be struggling in this battle. It will barely be hanging on. And then Houndour, through pure determination and power, would glow and evolve. It will grow in size. Its tail becomes so much longer, and a sharp arrow thing will grow on the end. It will grow long horns, and its head would and its snout would elongate, and the bones around it would cover its chest, and it would finish its evolution into Houndoom. After that, Houndoom would have learned Fire Blast from its evolution, and it would replace Ember, and Ash would command for Fire Blast, which would pretty much which would KO Camerupt at this point. And after that, Ash would congratulate Houndoom, and he would return it. And then Maxie would say, and then Maxie would leave, and the trio would then make their way outside. Alright, that is all for this part. Thank you very much for watching. I try my best to have a bit of a cold. If I didn't sound too upright, I'm sorry, I have a cold, so yeah, goodbye.